On the next One Piece, the world government reveals they've got, 50 more robots. Just one robot after another. You want to fight a Gundam? Fight a Gundam. I don't give a fuck. King of the Whatnot's gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. King of the Whatnot's gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now. We've got a multi-act season, 1, 2, 3. So come aboard to brave the sea. Supernovas and mystery. Warlords, wars, and tragedy. King of the Whatnot's gonna take you down. Gonna take you down. Marineford Arc, yeah, it's getting hot now. It's getting hot now.
Celestial dragons, lowest of low. Overwhelming enemies, it's time to go. Luffy's gonna fight for his big bro, so now it's time to start the show. Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 98 of King of the What Now? We're a One Piece review podcast reviewing the anime from the very beginning. I'm your host, Joel, a man who uses the power of the song in my heart to defeat my enemies.
And I'm your co-host, Kat, ghost of the show, just a perfect little bean, and also I have murdered so many civilians just for the fuck of it.
Wow. Because they called you out. They doubted your dreams. And you're like, I'll show you to doubt my dreams. I doubt your dream of staying alive.
To be clear, I'm doing a kid bit. I have never murdered anyone. FBI agent listening to this, just so you know.
I don't think many people feel the need to explain that they're joking when they're making such an over-the-top joke. That's kind of sus, to be honest.
Don't pet me, bro.
Okay, so we just finished watching some episodes of the anime. I had it open a second ago. Episodes 397 through 405, which concludes the Sabaody Archipelago arc.
Wow, was this a chunk of episodes?
This was a large set of episodes, but before we get into that, we have the Chatting with the Hosts segment. So, Catherine, what books or TV or movies or music have you...
So I've been watching too much of the Great British Bake Off. I dream of nothing but pistachios and breads.
Okay.
So there's that. I don't know. I really like to bake. It's a hobby that I've had since I was little. My dad taught me to bake. And so watching other people bake is kind of addictive, and it gives me new ideas to try in my own baking. So that's fun. I got a ton of books for Christmas, which I was super excited about because this is the first year in 10 years that I've gotten books for Christmas. But I got stuck on Christopher Poloni's newest book, and I haven't started any new books because I have to finish that one, but I don't want to finish it because I'm not having any fun.
You don't have to finish it. You can put it down.
I don't like to DNF books, though.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's just... you recognize that it's holding you back from enjoying these other books, which might be better.
Yes, that's true. Also been watching Kamen Rider Drive with the Discord, which continues to just be one of my favorite Toku series of all time. I don't know where I would rank it and Tokuger in relation to each other. Did I like Tokuger better? Do I like Drive better? It's hard to say. They're both really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Those watch-togethers are really fun. We have a lot of people who are really enthusiastic about the different characters. I love it a lot. I'm not quite as big of a fan of Drive as everyone else is, but, there's some great moments in there. And I really like Rina, the scientist lady. I like her. She's a good character. Does that wrap up kind of all the stuff that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, that's kind of everything I've been doing on my own. I figured we could discuss the things we've been watching together.
Yeah, absolutely. So by the time this episode is available on the public feed, the Catch PreCure bonus episode will have already been uploaded to Patreon. But yeah, we finished all of Catch PreCure, including the movie, and wow, what a series. I really like a lot of the moments from that show. I really like the bad guys. I mean, we can't go too far into our thoughts because that's what the bonus episode is for.
But we loved it a lot. Now we are watching the first episode of every season of PreCure to decide which season to watch next.
Yes, and we're very excited for the first episode of Tropical Rouge PreCure to come out. I think that's in the next week or two. I know it's sometime near the end of February, and we're coming up on that.
We're just sitting there refreshing the Verve homepage, waiting for it to pop up.
Yes, absolutely. So that show and the previews are filling me with hope that it's going to be a great series. We have also been watching the new season of Quintessential Quintuplets, and I don't know if you've heard my thoughts on the first season, but I love this show. Like, I don't know, it's not like overly sexual. It's no like To Love Ru or High School of the Dead, I think, is another one that had quite a bit of fan service in it. There's some, but anyways, my point is, it's a romance anime that like it's just right up my alley, and I love all of these characters, and they've only gotten cuter and more interesting as characters as the series goes on.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, who is your best girl, Catherine, right now?
I mean, Miku.
Okay, Miku's pretty great. Yes, Miku. Sorry, I get Miku and Niku mixed up. One is meat, and one of them is a character from a show that we watch. Miku is great. I've always really liked Yotsuba's energy, but she hasn't yet really started to show romantic feelings, and I think a lot of the kick-ass moments in One Piece are when Luffy punches a guy, and the kick-ass moments from Quinns is when one of them does something adorable while expressing their feelings. So Yotsuba hasn't quite reached top girl, but I assume once she falls for him, it will be very adorable.
I will say her whole arc about like desperately needing to be useful, even if it causes her harm, is just breaking my heart.
Yes.
Too relatable, Yotsuba. Settle down.
For sure. And she strongly reminds me of another character from One Piece that we'll get to in like 500 episodes, and I also really like that other character. So, whatever. Maybe someday I'll do a crossover with those two, or one of them dressed in the outfit of the other, or something like that.
We've been watching ReZero season 2.5.
Yeah, the second half of ReZero. I really like ReZero. I think anyone listening to this should try to give the first season a fair shake. Try not to go into it expecting like the best thing ever, but try not to go into it looking for every single little thing that isn't explained right away, or maybe poorly explained, that kind of thing. But I've found that I need to go back and rewatch part 1 of season 2, because the first season was like a bunch of mini arcs that were like, maybe like 5-6 episodes apiece. And this one has just been like 30 episodes in a row of like 4 different chess masters, and I don't remember what the different chess masters were.
To be clear, I have no idea what's happening in the show right now.
There's flashbacks to characters, and like, okay, so slight spoilers, very, very slight. I don't think you should have to avert your ears, but there's witches of the different sins. So there's the Witch of Wrath, and there's the Witch of Gluttony, and the Witch of Greed. And I thought that those were going to be, like, the only 7, like, magical figures we'd have to care about. And then, like, they have, like, subordinates. So there's, like, what was he called? Like, the
Archbishop.
Duke? The Archbishop of Greed. So it's like, okay, the Witch of Greed is the top of the Greed pyramid, but below her are minions of Greed. That's fine. I can follow that. But now we're getting flashbacks of, like, the Demon of Melancholy. And, like, where does he fit in? How does any of this work? I don't understand. And I've been assured that a lot of the stuff does make sense. The world building is very tight. But because I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm unsure. And I'm going to have to go back and binge all of season 2.
Yeah, well, and someone was asking a manga reader on Twitter this morning what they thought of season 2. And it sounds like a couple of the like mini character arcs were like really rushed or not clearly explained, whereas in the manga they were. So I hate that excuse. I hate in the manga it makes sense because I'm not watching the manga, am I? I'm watching the anime. It should make sense in the anime, but at least there's a way to understand it if I wanted to figure out what was happening.
Yes, for sure. It's still a good series. I still really like the characters. I just need to go back and make sure I understand everyone's motivations, because this is a show where the characters are everything and their motivations are everything. And so if you don't remember why Jeff is really eager to capture the flower field, well, then it's not going to make any sense when Jeff opposes the team's plan, because it would interfere with the flower field. And of course, I'm picking flippant examples so I don't spoil anything. We've also been watching Promised Neverland Season 2, and boy, is that a departure from Season 1. I probably will drop it when it, like, after Season 2 ends. If they're like, oh, here's a Season 3, I probably won't pick up Season 3 unless the rest of Season 2, like, really blows me out of the water. There's about to be a slight spoiler for the first episode of Promised Neverland. It's literally the first episode, and it is the plot of the entire show, basically. But if you absolutely cannot be spoiled on anything Promised Neverland, skip like 20 seconds in the future.
Yeah, well, and the thing about season 1 is it immediately hooked you with oh god, these children are being eaten.
Yeah.
Right? They immediately hook you with that. And then the rest of that season is about solving that specific problem. How do we escape this? Whereas the second season, it doesn't have a specific problem that they're trying to solve yet.
No antagonists, no like what's it called, like constraints, no like time limit, or like the ground is lava or anything like that.
Right. So a lot of the oh god, my brain is so broken.
Children characters?
No, the like stress of watching
the tension.
it. Yes, thank you. Why am I so dumb? A lot of the tension has just been like taken out of the show, and I still really enjoy the characters. I'm still invested in what they're doing, but you know, the anime is making some choices that some of the manga readers perhaps are not comfortable with. And so I do wonder if when this season ends, if you're not hooked for season 3, if we try reading the manga, if you'll be down. Or if, like many manga readers, you'll be like, wow, this series petered out. That's sad.
At least we'll be able to experience Goldie Pond, which is like universally loved, as far as I can tell. It's like one of the highest appreciated moments of the manga, and apparently the anime just skipped it entirely. And I've heard that apparently the manga author, these are unsubstantiated rumors, so don't take my word for it, but I've heard that the manga writer was disappointed, or he changed their mind, or I assume it's a he, but they changed their mind about the direction they wanted the story to go, so the anime is more in line with those changes that they wish they could have seen. Yeah,
the mangaka is very involved with the anime and is taking it in a different direction than they took the manga.
That about wraps it up. I think we've said before that we have terrible memories, and I'm sorry, if we want to be internet influencers of the highest order, we should probably be able to keep track of our own lore and our own videos and stuff. But I've been playing Minecraft a lot lately, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the last episode. I've now completed a sand tower that goes all the way up to the tallest point you can build at, and the tower is useless. I don't know why I built it, but it's there.
Why does man climb Mount Everest?
Because it is there. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think I had my slime farm the last time that we talked, but now I've built it so that there's lava on all 4 sides. So if you don't play the game, there's enemies that only spawn in certain areas, and they drop loot that you can only get from them in basically one other rare place. So I've created a giant pen where they will spawn, and the only place they can go is towards an enemy that they perceive. But there's a ravine, and they fall, and then they land on the lava or the magma blocks, and then they die, and then there's a little railroad system underneath that picks up all the items that they drop. So I can turn on the game, and I can chill out outside the pen in relative safety, and over time I will just accumulate more of the loot that they drop. So that's something else that I've been doing. I also have a sheep of every color, and when I say a sheep of every color, I mean between 10 and 16 sheep of every color.
And we discovered that the sheep can make love through the pens.
Yes! Yeah, so I was trying to move... okay, so if you have a red sheep and a yellow sheep, and you have them breed with each other, it will produce an orange sheep. But if you have 2 yellow sheep, the baby will be yellow, right? So it's kind of like basic color mixing type stuff. So I was setting up a pen, and I had it ordered in rainbow order. So the first pen was red, and then orange, and then yellow, and then the 2 greens. But I had the black sheep and the gray sheep, or no, maybe it doesn't matter. I had 2 sheep.
White and dark gray.
White, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what it was. They were in 2 pens next to each other, and I was basically trying to produce more of each of those colors. More white sheep and more black sheep, I think it was. But because they could see each other through the pen, they ended up producing a gray sheep in the white sheep pen. And let me tell you, if you've never played Minecraft, getting sheep in and out of the pen, especially if there's multiple sheep and you're trying to get one sheep out, it is frustrating and annoying, and I just want to burn the sheep to the ground for their insolence. But yeah, that's basically it with Minecraft. It's a really fun game, and we have a pixel artist who has created a giant rarity and a giant Nyan cat over the central hub that is the spawn area, the main town.
And a giant T-Rex with a foot museum underneath it.
Yes, of course, because there's no reason not to have a foot museum to a dinosaur that is named after one of the people who runs the server. That's normal behavior and expected in polite society.
Nothing weird about that.
I think if you visit Europe, they actually have an imperial T-Rex that represents the proud history of Europeans. Lastly, I just want to shout out Game Grumps playing Danganronpa. I don't think that I would ever be interested in playing Danganronpa myself. The beginning couple of bits is so slow and so light novel-esque that I wouldn't be able to get to later when the story actually gets interesting. But the Game Grumps deliver just the right amount of levity to make me go, I can't wait till the next episode comes out. I can't wait to see what happens. And their rendition of Byakuya is excellent, and you definitely need to watch like the first couple of episodes. And if it's not your thing, that's okay. We can still be friends, but it's right up my alley. So
excellent. So Joel, what happened in these gosh dang episodes?
Yes, we want a succinct summary, and I should probably also, I guess I did already say, to reiterate, we are watching episodes 397 through 405, which finishes the Sabaody Archipelago arc. If you'll recall, in the last set of episodes we watched, Luffy punched a Tenryubito or a Celestial Dragon, and then the episode kind of cut out, and everyone was like, oh no, what's
that bad?
That's bad. So in these episodes, all hell breaks loose. The guards in the auction house start attacking Luffy and crew. Luffy and crew are trying to fight to be able to free Kami. During all of the chaos, the guards are hit with some kind of like psychic attack. And then Rayleigh, who we saw in the previous episode was one of the prisoners in this auction house, he comes walking out, his bomb collar has been removed, and everyone's like, how the hell did he do that? And he does another psychic attack, like it's very clear that he's the one doing it in order to stop someone from shooting Kami, because she's like, oh, you're trying to save her? Well, I have the best way to foil your plan, I'll just shoot her in the head. And she falls backwards, and you're like, what is that? And one of the members of Law's crew, this isn't very succinct, mentioned something about like, wow, his hockey is strong. This is like the third or fourth time that we've had the word hockey sprinkled into the show. We're starting to get some kind of development that will be clarified eventually, but for first-time viewers, pay attention, because hockey is also the thing that happened when Shanks got on Whitebeard's ship that caused some of Whitebeard's, like, lesser crew members, the weaker crew members, to pass out. So, something about hockey seems to be related to knocking people out with some kind of psychic blast, and it seems to be related to your quote-unquote power level. Rayleigh was the vice captain of one of the most famous pirate ships of all time. Shanks and Whitebeard are confirmed emperors of the sea, and it's the weaker members of these groups that are attacked that are passed out. Okay, so
he gets the collar off of Kami.
Yeah, Rayleigh knocks all the people out. He recognizes Luffy's straw hat, that's important, and he is somehow able to get Kami's bomb collar off of her neck. Like, he literally touches it, and it starts doing the tick, tick, tick thing, but right before it explodes, he moves with, like, lightning speed and rips the collar off of her neck and throws it, and it explodes safely at a distance.
He does this, like, nyah!
Exactly, and, like, spoilers for, like, another 900 episodes in the future, but, like, this comes back, and also Zoro specifically says, like, what did he do? So it's not just, like, moving at an extreme speed. There's some other component here that we're not getting. Luffy, Kid, and Law go out and they fight some Marines that have surrounded the auction house, and it's really just a chance for them to show off, like, how strong they are. They meet Rayleigh back at Shocky's bar, and he gives a little history of the Roger Pirates. He answers some burning questions for Robin, and Usopp tries to ask a question, and Luffy says, "No questions, please!"
Luffy punches him in the face.
No, he jumps up on the desk, I think. I don't think he actually hits Usopp.
I always imagine that scene as Luffy knocking him out.
You're probably just getting confused with that other time that Luffy yelled at Usopp. But no, anyways, they get some history lesson, and then as they're leaving, trying to keep a low profile, because it's going to take Rayleigh, I think, was it 3 days?
Yes, Rayleigh's going to take the 3 days to coat the ship, and they decided to separate so that they were less conspicuous with the Marines.
Exactly, yeah. So they're going to split up. They have to meet Rayleigh in 3 days. They are given the a Weaver paper, just like what Luffy got from Ace. And I believe this is the first time it's been explained, but the Weaver paper... No. Lola explained it back on Thriller Bark. So they now have 3 important Weaver papers. This is how they're going to find Rayleigh. As they're trying to inconspicuously dissolve into the crowd, who shows up but Bartholomew Kuma, Warlord of the Sea? Except there's something different about him this time. He's not shooting paw shockwaves from his hands, he's shooting lasers. And we also see some of the other supernova being attacked by Kuma at the same time, also being attacked with lasers. But Drake, one of the supernova, is revealed to be a rear admiral, or a former rear admiral of the Navy. My apologies. He turned pirate some time ago, but he knows what these things are. They're called the Pacifista. Okay. Luffy and crew are able to defeat the first Pacifista, but it takes a lot out of them. A second Pacifista shows up, along with this, samurai-looking dude who has, the rope knot around his waist. He has a giant battle axe. He's able to hurt Luffy, despite Luffy being rubber. He's able to use, physical attacks, and they're actually working, and everyone's like, what's going on? And then, on top of all of this, Kizaru shows up. Kizaru is one of the 3 admirals. He appears to have... No, he explains that he is made out of light, and nothing they do can hurt him. He can move around at insane speeds.
I ate the Pika Pika no Mi and became a light man.
Yes. He's a very dangerous opponent, and because Zoro is so worn out, both from these fights, but also from his trauma of Thriller Bark, he is at the mercy of Kizaru, and he's going to be killed by Kizaru, and Robin tries to roll him away, but Kizaru just steps on him so hard that Robin can't roll him away, and he's going to kill Zoro, and Brook and Usopp are attacking, but the attacks are going right through him. Rayleigh shows up again and is able to save them, somehow interacting with Kizaru's light abilities. He's able to actually hurt him, and he stops them.
Yeah, Kizaru's doing a kicky, and Rayleigh does a kicky, and their kickies intersect. And it's why the light kicky no go through the regular man kicky, though?
Exactly, yes. I could not have asked for a better succinct summary of that scene. During all of this... Luffy orders a retreat, and even though Rayleigh is able to keep Kizaru at bay, he can't keep all 3 at bay. So the Pacifista, the new Pacifista, and Sentomaru, that's the samurai sumo-looking guy, they're attacking, and all hope is lost. And then who shows up but the real Bartholomew Kuma? We recognize that it's the real one because he addresses Zoro, and he references the stuff that happened back on Thriller Bark, and also he's carrying a Bible. The other ones do not. And he...
Robots don't have religion.
Exactly. And he starts to send everyone away. The first one he goes after is Zoro. He uses his paw, Zoro disappears, and everyone goes, what just happened? Zoro has disappeared. Oh no, and they start panicking. Sentomaru says that the rumor is that Kuma can send anyone he touches with his paw flying for 3 days and 3 nights. But we don't have any confirmation where Kuma might have sent Zoro.
At the same time, the bad guys are oh, so you're betraying us. So he's clearly not being helpful by sending the pirates away.
He's clearly obstructing their plans. And he, one by one, in a terrifying manner, gets rid of all of Luffy's crewmates. This ability seems to work on people regardless of their size. Chopper in his desperation turned into Monster Point, and Kuma was able to send Monster Point Chopper away. And he goes after everyone until only Luffy is left. And then he says, hey, Luffy, you're never going to see me again. And Luffy doesn't do anything. Luffy glares at him while he's crying. He's been trying to attack Kuma this entire time to prevent this, but he can't. He's not strong enough. And then Kuma slaps him. He's gone. The episode ends, and the narrator lets us know that on this day, the Straw Hat crew has utterly collapsed. Yeah.
Also, at one point during that, Kuma leans over to Rayleigh and is like, and Rayleigh is like, why should I trust you, though? And Kuma's like, that's going to be important.
Yeah.
So,
Joel, and that has been your succinct summary.
Not to call you out.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great succinct summary. You really covered all the bases. But may I read the succinct summary you had written on our docket?
Yeah.
Rayleigh saves Camie twice. He uses hockey to knock people out. Kid, Law, and Luffy lead the charge from the auction house. Rayleigh tells them the story of Roger disbanding the crew, and then the Straw Hats run into quote-unquote Kuma and fight a hard battle. The other Supernova fight to escape the island.
And then there's a little bit more. That summary only covers up to, like, episode 402.
Okay, that's fair. Listening.
If you're, not you, the listeners of this podcast, the fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, if you would like our succinct summaries to be more succinct, more pithy, we can definitely work on that, and I will do something like what you just read, like what Catherine just read. But if you would prefer that we go into a little bit more detail, we can do that as well. So, I haven't received any feedback on which version people like.
And to be clear, I'm not calling you out here. I just thought that the difference was funny.
Absolutely.
Between what Madoka Magica is a treatise on. So we got a lot from these episodes. Like this was probably both the tightest and the biggest chunk of episodes that we have covered so far, especially in this arc. So I just want to say, did you like these episodes?
Yeah, I did. I did a lot. The thing that I liked the best of these episodes, I think I've said this before, but I really enjoy the combo attacks and the teamwork of the Straw Hat crew. They have their individual moments where they're awesome, but I also like when, Sanji kicks Zoro into the air and Zoro does a big slashy attack. So the pacifistas have like a mark on their neck, so the first one that they fight is PX4, and I really enjoy seeing the crew members just working together to defeat this creature, this robot cyborg thing. And it is confirmed to be a cyborg. At one point they cut its arm or something and you can see the wiring underneath, and it's shooting beams from its mouth, which is not something that humans seem to be able to do in the One Piece world, I would assume. So I really enjoyed that. The lore from Rayleigh is pretty awesome. We have some good character moments with the crew that we can go into later. And I just enjoy seeing all the different supernovas, and it's basically confirmed that all of them, except for maybe Killer, Kid's second in command, all of them seem to have fruit abilities. Now, that is with an asterisk, because technically the world of One Piece has dinosaurs and cyborgs and bubbles that allow you to go underwater, and has mermaids. So it is possible that the abilities that some of these people are using is some kind of secret martial arts technique, some kind of secret shamanism, some kind of magic spell, some kind of technology that we don't understand. But these powers are so unique that it seems like it is probable that they all have fruit powers.
Well, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. One of my favorite things about One Piece is it does have a really tight magic system, even with this new hockey. We've seen it used in consistent ways, and we're learning about it and its rules and limitations at the same speed as the characters in the show learn about it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you like these episodes?
I liked them a lot. I have a problem with shows that want me to react emotionally to deaths that I know are not deaths. I never thought, and I still don't watching this, I never thought this was any sort of permadeath. I didn't think anyone was permanently harmed. And so Luffy's very emotional reaction doesn't resonate with me, because I'm like, well, can't you tell that you guys have plot armor? And of course he can't, because he's a character in that situation. If I were in that situation, I'd be terrified. Kuma's 20 feet tall and can boop you and make you disappear? That's horrifying. But that specific piece, the emotional piece, didn't necessarily resonate with me. That said, I think the visuals of these episodes were really stunning. The use of the bubbles popping over the island as a metaphor for the Straw Hats disappearing one by one was really cool.
Of course.
I like that every time you think like, oh, we can breathe now, there's a new threat.
Yes.
No breathing for you. And then I really like, they have been told, especially over the last like 2 arcs or so, that the enemies they're going to face are going to get harder, and that the sea gets more terrifying the further in you go. And they just kind of wave it off, and they're like, haha, we can do anything. We have the power of friendship. No, get fucked. And this is like kind of their moment of waking up and realizing like, this is not all just a fun adventure. It is getting harder, and we have to get harder with it.
I do agree with that. At the same time, the Straw Hats have faced adversity before. Luffy lost a crocodile twice. And Nami got kidnapped by Eneru, and Robin got kidnapped, and Luffy was unable to defeat Lucci that first time. So I think when they were told, hey, things are going to get tougher, they just kind of thought, oh, we'll face the challenge and we'll grow from it. But the difficulty curve, as it were, did not go up by a step. It seemed to have skyrocketed about 8 steps.
They didn't realize that they were approaching total party wipe territory.
Exactly.
They figured, like, Zoro gets knocked out. That's cool. We'll protect him.
He's pretty strong. Yeah, he'll just drink some booze and he'll be back to normal.
I also like that Zoro has almost PTSD from his encounter with Kuma on Thriller Bark.
Yes.
It's not even... He's still recovering from his injuries, but he's fighting fine. And then he sees Kuma, and he has, like, a panic attack and falls over, and that's when he's under attack by Kizaru. And that's something I don't think you get very often in shonen. I don't think characters always carry the emotional wounds of their past fights with them.
Someday I think we might do a bonus episode on Fairy Tail, because even though there are places where the story falls short, there are other places where it excels, and I think it does a good job. But there was a scene, and I think I've talked about it before, but there's a scene where Natsu, the main character, is basically told, hey, sometimes there are opponents that are too strong for you. And it literally only ever comes up one more time later in that very same arc, and he shrugs off the fear that he was taught to listen to because the situation is different this time. And I think that Zoro's reaction is much more realistic, and he freaks out when Kuma shows up. He's like, oh god. But he also had a flashback when the pacifista the first time opens his mouth and was about to shoot a laser, because that reminded him of his fight with Kuma, because Kuma can also shoot lasers. So these episodes are very good. Even if you know that the crew isn't dead, because A, this isn't that type of show, B, the show isn't over, but even if you know that the crewmates are probably still alive, there is a certain element of uncertainty. Are they alive, or have they been sent to, like, a secret prison? Like, what's going to happen? We know how hard it is to go from one island to the next, so if they're sent, like, 4 islands away, how long is it going to take them to get back? All these other things, and their strength is when they fight together. Could you imagine if Zoro had to do something in order to save Robin from taken past the gate at
like all by himself, yeah.
Yeah, like Zoro on his own wouldn't have any way to solve that. So there's an element of like unknown, and there's also an element of Luffy couldn't protect his friends. Even if they're still alive, he couldn't save them.
Here's my question. Assuming what Kuma does is he sends people places, because, he asks if you could take a trip, where would you like to go? Which is just such an ominous line to ask someone, even though I don't think he means it that way. And I really wonder if Kuma has trouble making friends because he just sounds murderous all the time.
When he was a pirate, he was known as the Tyrant, Bartholomew Kuma. So I don't know if he actually was bloodthirsty or if it's just the way he acts. But I think I agree with that take, yeah.
Yeah, but do you think that he pushed them all to the same place, or do you think he pushed them to different places? What would be your guess?
Different places. Because if they all got sent to the same place, they would just work together as a team and build a new ship or something.
And why would he ask them, where do you want to go, if he was going to send them to the same place anyway?
That's true. Now, at the same time, he didn't ask that question 9 times for the 9 different crew members, but he did ask the question, I think, to Zoro when he first showed up. I also want to know, does their answer affect the booping? Like, if they say, I want to go to Hawaii, does the boop tend you to Hawaii? But if you said, I want to go to France, does he send you to the Eiffel Tower? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. The last time we saw him ask this question was to Perona, and she got to give an actual answer before she got booped to hell, so...
Yeah. Oh, man. Can he boop them to a place that doesn't exist? If I say I want to go to a place where diabetes is cured or whatever, does that place now manifest after he boops you? I don't know the mechanics.
Once again, we talked about this in our Thriller Bark episodes, but his Bible, I really think, is not like the Bible. I think it's his Bible of like all the places in the world he knows, because he did have to flip through it to find something that matched Perona's description before he booped her.
Assuming that's what he did.
What he did. We don't know. But that kind of leads us into some of the new information that we got from these episodes. We got new information about how his powers work, and we also got the information about the Pacifista. What are the Pacifista? Why does Kuma have clones or brothers, or what are these things?
Yeah, so... At first, we see the Pacifista show up, and he's shooting lasers, and we go, that's not Kuma. And Sanji says something about, like, I think it's Sanji, says, like, the most logical explanation is he has a twin. Okay, I believe it. Twins are not uncommon. Exactly. But then we, the viewers, are shown mini Pacifista. Two show up to fight Kid and Law. Another one shows up to fight, who is that, like, Arouge and Drake and Hawkins. So there's quite a few of these. They have numbers. We know that one's called PX4, and there's a PX1, so, okay. There's gotta be at least, like, half a dozen of these things. So I guess it's possible, theoretically, for Kuma to have been, like, a set of, like, septuplets or something. Like, there could be a limited number. But the way Asentamaru said, it costs as much as a warship to build each one of you, makes it sound like they could mass produce, or maybe not mass produce, not thousands, but it seems like they could create as many as they want.
They're made from scratch or whatever, yeah.
But they also, Frankie makes the comment, this is a human or a biological creature that has been modified like me. So that must mean that there's organic material. Are they growing extra, like, skin and bones? And they just happen to always look like Kuma? So I think clone is the most likely answer, or devil fruit of some sort.
Oda is teasing us with this Vegapunk stuff, and I'm starting to think we're never actually going to see him because there's so much left to cover, and, you know, we got to get to the One Piece, right? Yeah. But man, am I curious. I really do think that you're right that it's probably clones. I'm curious. It's probably because they're clones, and they probably get all the robot bits put in while they're still growing, but the original Kuma gets to have, like, thoughts and feelings and can talk, but none of the Pacifista seem to be able to.
Yeah.
And then my other question would be, why do you think they chose Kuma to model the Pacifista off of? Is there something about his devil fruit specifically, or is it just because he big?
I don't know. There's a potential answer that I could give based off of foreknowledge, but I think we'll cover that when we get there. What would make sense to me is that maybe it is, like, Kuma's physique. Maybe he just, like, is naturally born, like, stronger than other babies. Maybe Vegapunk had, like, a pen of, like, a dozen babies, and he observed them growing, and he's like, oh, very interesting. This one's muscle mass when they hit puberty or when they hit the age of 15 or whatever, their muscle mass expands at an accelerated rate. Or maybe Kuma has like diluted giant blood in him or something. But I assume it's something about Kuma. And then the Vegapunk was like, I'm going to make a bunch of robots based off of him. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that Kuma is already quiet, so you wouldn't notice if you replaced him with a robot. Like, if you tried to replace Moria with a robot, people would notice immediately that he wasn't talking anymore.
Oh, Moria. Moria the Pumpkin Man.
Let's also talk about something else about this that I find highly interesting. When Drake sees Kuma shoot a laser, he says, that's Kizaru's laser. Now, we meet Kizaru in these episodes. He's a light man, and his main mode of attack is it seems to be that he charges up power over time, but he can, I don't know, consolidate light to the point where it has a physical form, and he fires it and it causes gigantic explosions, like huge fallout explosions. And so it seems to be that Dr. Vegapunk, this is my own headcanon, I don't think it's been confirmed, but I think he observed Kizaru using his powers, and he found a way to replicate the Devil Fruit power with technology.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering how many Devil Fruits are compatible with that.
Well, and the thing that we know for sure about Vegapunk from past information is that he is the world's Devil Fruit expert.
Yep.
And that is what the bulk of his research is around. Like, it's surprising to find him involved with robots, because his thing is feeding elephants to swords.
Well, hang on. So I think at this point we've gotten 3 projects that Vegapunk has definitively worked on. I don't know if they've said Vegapunk in each case, but I'm pretty sure he's the man behind feeding devil fruits to inanimate objects. That's how you got Gunther the Gundog and Funkfried, the elephant.
Spandam's only friend.
Spandam's closest and only friend. He also is the one who figured out how to coat ships with sea stone so they won't get attacked by sea kings, that allowed Kobe and Garp to travel the Calm Belt.
Oh!
And he's also the individual, I believe, behind the robots. Now, I don't think anyone explicitly said, maybe Drake did. Sentinmaru says, that punk guy, which sounds like it's probably Vegapunk, but it could be someone else.
Okay.
You never know.
That's fair. Apologies for the spoilers, I guess.
Well, no. I think that it's very strong evidence. Until we see anything to the contrary, we should assume it's the same guy.
But yeah, I really think that this pacifista creature is somehow the result of his experiments and understandings of different devil fruits. I think that the way Kuma's paw devil fruit works was interesting to him, and he somehow combined that with the Pika Pika no Mi. And he created these robots that can shoot beams out of their mouth, which is honestly the funniest animation.
Yes.
Like, I love it when they're like, wah!
Okay, yeah. So, one last question on the subject. And it's a really stupid, nitpicky, nerdy question. The Straw Hats defeated PX4, and then they fought PX1. And Sanji, when he tried to kick Kuma on Thriller Bark, he fell to the ground, he writhed in pain, because his kick wasn't strong enough, or like Kuma was made of some metal that's really, really tough. When they fought PX4, Sanji seemed to do fine. He did a couple of Diable Jambe kicks, and he seemed to be okay. When he kicked PX1, because it was chasing after Usopp and Zoro and Brook, he again fell to the ground, writhing in pain. So, is the number like a ranking system? Is PX1 like the hardest? Or do you think that maybe Diable Jambe protected him when he attacked PX4?
There's a couple possibilities here. One possibility is that there's a ranking system, although I would expect the higher numbers to be
right, like it's
stronger.
iterations, like version 1, version 2.
Right. Another possibility is the Diable Jambe protected him. Another one is that he was injuring himself over the course of the fight, and he had reached his limit by the time he hit PX1. And then another one is maybe the different pacifista have different, like, proportions of metal in different parts of their body. Maybe he kicked that one, in the leg, and that one has regular bones in its legs.
Okay, yeah. I like that a lot. Could one use science to replicate the pawpaw fruit, do you think? Because, so here's my understanding of the different devil fruits. Logias seem to be based off of natural elements. You've got smoke, you've got sand, you've got lightning, you've got ice, you've got light, all things you can see in the real world and interact with. Zoans are animals, and we get a little bit of a hint in this one that maybe they're not all, like, normal animals you could see in your backyard, but, you've got, like, oxen and falcons and dogs.
Drake the fucking dinosaur.
Whoa,
Sorry
spoilers.
for the F-bomb.
But anyways, Zoans are animals, and then Paramecia is whatever the hell you want them to be. You've got stretchy people, you have the one that Frankie fought that can turn himself into balls, Buggy can be split apart and come back together no matter what. So I think that a scientist with enough knowledge could replicate the abilities of animals because they're naturally occurring, and the abilities of Logias because those are natural phenomenon. I don't know how well a scientist, even if they're 1,000 Einsteins jacked into a supercomputer feeding one central intelligence, I don't think that they would be able to replicate Buggy's power or the pawpaw fruit.
You're probably right. At the same time, my understanding of kind of the way that paramecias work, I feel like paramecias are human ideas.
Okay.
Right? So, like, Logias are elements, Zoans are animals, Paramecia are ideas. So we have the idea of cutting something up into many pieces, or we have the idea of pushing something to someone else. And ideas are kind of fragile and ephemeral, so maybe a scientist couldn't replicate them. At the same time, maybe if a scientist was imaginative enough, maybe they could. Maybe they could be like, I thought really hard about making things into many tiny spheres at this fruit, and now this fruit can make things into tiny spheres.
Listen, if or when we see a robot replicate Perona's hollows, when science can create ghosts, my only response will be bullshit. Okay? I do not want that. I think Vegapunk could replicate Luffy's powers because all you need to create something that's made out of rubber. I think you could do that, but I don't know if he could replicate the weirder powers, like being able to be cut in half and just like instantly like back together.
When will Luffy fight his most feared foe, the Glue Man?
You know, that's an excellent question. He did technically fight the Sticky Man in one of the earlier movies, the guy who is made out of like sugar or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, that guy.
And Sanji had to give him the flour in order to...
Didn't that guy get like impaled by the end of the fight? That was some dark stuff. The movies go harder than they have any right to. Yes. On the note of devil fruits, more new information. Do you want to kind of go into that?
I'm not sure what you mean.
We get to see Law and Kid's powers?
Okay, yes. So I mentioned this earlier. Technically, none of these people, except for one, were confirmed to be devil fruit users, but they're using abilities that seem to be consistent with how devil fruits work. Kid, Captain Eustace, Eustace Captain Kid. His moniker is Captain, but he's also a captain. That's weird. Okay.
He was known as Captain even when he was a child because of his dominating personality.
Okay. Kid seems to be able to attract and repel objects. Metal objects specifically. I'm going to assume that he has some kind of magnetism fruit.
Magnets, how do they work?
How do they work? But we technically don't get confirmation of that. Law's powers are weird. He can create a giant room, like a room. He creates a giant sphere, and he can switch objects in place. So he could take an apple sitting next to him and swap it with a cannonball that the Marines are loading into the cannon, 10 feet away.
Law is so cool.
It seems to take time for him to create these room structures, and it seems like his powers only work inside of the room. Okay. But he can teleport things. He can cut off like people's like arms and heads and legs and whatever. And like the legs will continue like moving and the arms will continue feeling and the heads will continue talking even if they've been separated.
You replaced a guy's head with a cannonball and the head was just like screaming for the rest of the fight. And I felt really bad for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So like at this point, thought that he had some kind of spatial power. Like he was able to create space between the head and the body, such that the metaphysics were that the head was still attached, like blood still flowed from the neck down into the heart, or vice versa. But in reality, in physical space, they were separated. And we get no confirmation as to whether or not that's his power or not. Mm-hmm.
Kids is much more understandable by contrast.
Yeah, Kids you see it and you're like, I think that's magnets. That seems like it's magnets. Erouge can like bulk up, like his body keeps getting bigger and bigger, and all of his attacks were called like karma. So I assume, again, that he's taking damage and converting that into physical strength. The more beat down he gets, the stronger he gets. But I'm sure that there's a limit because devil fruits are physical too. Drake ate an ancient Zoan fruit. Holy holy shit! He turned into some kind of dinosaur. I thought it was a T-Rex. He seems a little too small to be a T-Rex. But he turned into some kind of dinosaur thing, and he did a big chompy. So that's exciting. Okay, who else do we have? Hawkins is able to take damage that he receives and transfer to someone else in like a voodoo type fashion. He has these like little puppets that fall out of his body that have like damage in them. But he has a limit. His crewmates say something about like, even Hawkins won't last this long, or there's a limit to his abilities, and he can turn into some kind of weird scarecrow monster with like nails for fingers. Okay. Kizaru correctly deduces, or at least seems to deduce, that he is not a Logia because light still affects his eyesight, which I guess would not work on a Logia fruit user. Okay. Who else do we have? Apu is able to transform different parts of his body into musical instruments. His arm becomes, I think, like a saxophone or a trumpet. I'm not sure. His teeth become piano keys. His head becomes a cymbal. He can project that sound, and it seems that he can do attacks with the sound. Kizaru gets his arm cut off, and he's very nonplussed by it. He like looks over, he's like, "Huh, that's my arm." And then the big finish attack caused Kizaru to be cut in half, and it was like a fire-based attack. So I guess different music sounds might correspond to different elements, maybe. Oh god, there are so many more.
I could cover a couple.
Yeah.
Gang Beige is full of tiny men.
Yes.
And the men get big when they come out.
He has a radius, kind of like Law's power. And inside of his body, you see, men, and they have horses, and they have cannons. But once they get a certain distance away from him, they return to normal size. So they fire these mini cannonballs that are like smaller than the size of your thumbnail. And then they enlarge to normal cannonball after a certain time.
And Bonnie messes with people's age, which we already kind of figured she could do based on what we've seen.
Yes, in the previous episode, she affected her own age. In these episodes, different Marines had been transformed into crying babies and old men.
Let me ask you, which of these newly introduced powers was your favorite?
I kind of like Laws, as vague as they might be, because, like, teleporting things around, that's awesome.
Also, just the way that he does it, like the cool room.
Yes.
It's very satisfying.
For sure. The other one that I want to give a shout out is Hawkins. Now, I need to know how the power works because, like, I don't know. Can he always have 10 quote-unquote extra lives? How does he choose who to transfer the damage to? Is it a handshake? Is it a kiss? Is it a randomization? Do they have to have the same blood type?
We saw the little voodoo dolls. Does he have to make those and, like, put a piece of the person's hair in it?
Oh my god, just like actual voodoo dolls. That would be amazing, yeah. How much time does he need to prepare? How about you? Which of them were exciting?
I mean, one of them turns into a dinosaur.
That is pretty cool.
So that's super neat. I really like Law's power. I was like, did I get him and Kid mixed up? No. I really like Law's power. Law seems like he would be the most interesting to explore. Like, what is this power and what are the limits of it? And I say that, of course, having foreknowledge of whether or not that comes to anything, but even at the time, I, like, latched onto him like a baby monkey, and I was like, this is mine now.
I wanted to make a joke about, what are you talking about? The Straw Hats aren't on the island anymore. We'll never see any of the supernova again. But if an author goes, hey, here's a group of people, here's the title of that group of people, I'm introducing them all at the same time, I'm going to give each one of them an individual title card, I'm guessing they'll come back in some capacity.
If only we had a movie where they all got, you know, lots of screen time. And
Absolutely. I also am very curious about Erouge's power, but I gotta be honest, I don't care about Erouge. But I just, like, is there a limit? How big can he get? Can he get to kaiju size? Because we know that there are fishmen, like, would fishmen receive the same benefits? Would they bulk up in the same way, or would they have some kind of other evolutionary thing?
Can he die, or does he just karma out an explosion?
I assume that he can die. I don't think Oda would give anyone an invincible power. Like, everyone we've seen so far, even the ones that seem insane, can be countered.
Also, I'm going to count Kizaru's power because we found out what the name of it was. And
Yeah.
damn, is that an OP devil fruit? Like,
So
nobody
cool.
that he attacked should have remained alive. Also, he's 9'11", and I think that's very sexy of Oda.
He's such a tall boy.
I imagine I'm 5'7", and I feel pretty tall most of the time. Imagine being 9'11". Normal houses are not built for you. But like, this is One Piece, so I guess getting hit at the speed of light isn't the deadly attack that it would be in the real world. But man, his devil fruit is kind of mind-blowing.
Oh no, that was Kuma that did it. Kuma hits Sanji point blank with a laser, and he's obviously reeling from it, but he's also not dead, which, if I were writing a series, if someone shot a beam at point blank range, I would try to find a way to explicitly explain why it didn't kill them, unless it did. What do you think the natural defense against Kizaru's power is?
Mirror.
Okay. So if he tries to attack you with that light sword, he can create a goddamn a lightsaber from his powers. If he tries to slash you with that, if you bring up a mirror, is he powerless to break that mirror? Will it immediately bounce back and stab him?
Yes.
Okay, so we just need to strap Luffy in some like mirror armor.
Or like, imagine him fighting like a crystal man.
Oh, that would be really cool.
And like he tries to attack and his lights are just like refracted.
The Crystal Man tackles Kizaru, and then we begin the 7 Kizaru arc where there's a red Kizaru and a blue Kizaru and a green Kizaru.
And the red one is angry and the blue one is sad and the green one is thoughtful.
No, the green one is disgusted, Catherine. We've seen this movie. They're inside your mind. Let's go into Kizaru's personality. What do you think of this guy?
I think that he smoked a lot of weed before coming to this island.
You know, that is...
Him and Law both. We got a screenshot during these episodes of Law looking extremely stoned.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to add more, but that's really all you can say about it. So Kizaru shows up. I believe we see him riding on a gosh dang cannonball at one point, because I guess he's fast enough that he can do that. He pulls out a Denden Mushi on his wrist, and he's trying to get in contact with that Sentomaru person that we mentioned before, but it doesn't seem to be working. So he goes up to random people and he asks them if they've seen this person. And even if they say, I haven't seen this person, he basically goes, well, you know, you're a pirate, and if I'm a bored admiral, I can't just let you leave. And he just attacks people, which is cool, but they're all saved by Sentomaru finally getting in contact with him, and we find out another piece of information we can talk about a little bit if you want, that there are black Denden Mushi that are...
For listening.
They can eavesdrop on other Denden Mushi communications, which, of course, the government would have that. If it exists, who would use it but the government?
Sinatra, I don't know if the mic's going to pick any of this up, but Sinatra is very loudly sharing her opinion on the government eavesdropping on its citizens.
She came to the door and just meowed like 4 times in a row.
She's been fed. I don't know what she wants, you guys. Maybe she wants to be on the podcast.
But anyways, Kizaru is like very like chilled and laid back. And he's very like, oh, mushy mush when he answers the phone. But I love him. He is... I don't know what it is about him, but he goes up to Hawkins, and he's like, hey, Hawkins, have you seen Sentomaru? And he's like, no. And he goes, oh, okay. Hey, did you know that speed is weight? Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? And something about that is just, like, really good. It's fire in my brain. And the next thing you see is Kizaru's foot, like, right next to Hawkins' head, like, mid-swing, mid-kick, and Hawkins like has just enough time to like see it, but he can't react, and then he's just blown through like 4 buildings.
Yeah, Kizaru is spooky as heck.
Yes.
You had a quick note about whether Kizaru or Aokiji was scarier, and Kizaru for sure. Like, he's so casual about his use of this OP devil fruit violence, whereas Aokiji seems to have like emotions, right? He seems to feel bad, at least when he has to do harm. He
let Robin escape after Water 7, even though he clearly knew where she was. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on with Aokiji. Do you think that their powers on their own... Do you... The cat is now scratching at the door. She has never acted like this before, not while we were podcasting. But do you think the power of light is inherently scarier than the power of ice?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Now, I would agree with that. I think that the way that we've seen the laser beams, like, that's some major damage. On the other hand, Aokiji can freeze people to death, and so...
But you can thaw them out with hot water. If someone shoots a laser through your stomach, you're not thawing that out with a hot shower.
I know, but just imagine, like, getting hit with a laser beam in an anime is kind of like, yeah, whatever. But being frozen to death is horrifying. But I do agree that I think Kizaru is kind of a bigger threat long term. It seems like Aokiji is more like, say, like Smoker or Kobe, might be more sympathetic to pirates, but Kizaru seems to... His calm and laid back and kind of high on drugs behavior masks the true menace that is Kizaru.
Whatever. As he's like destroying your insides.
Yes.
I will say I definitely prefer Aokiji personality-wise because he seems to have a personality.
Yes.
Is there any more new information or characters you want to talk about before we move on?
Yeah, so we got some world building that we should cover in a bit, but Sentomaru claims to have the strongest defense in the world.
He's the most tight-lipped man there is.
Yes, even though he gives away a couple of secrets for free, but he did that on purpose, obviously. But now, do you believe that claim? Do you think that Sentomaru claims to have the strongest defense in all the world, and it's just talk, or do you think that that's like an officially recognized, like they've gone up against like Emperors of the Sea and survived?
I believe Sentomaru has very strong defense. I don't know if I can say that it's the strongest in the world, because we meet some pretty well-defended individuals.
Yeah, and I mean, like, not to get too far into spoilers, but like, there's a lot of people that I don't think directly fight each other. I think there's a lot of, like, Whitebeard has other captains underneath him that he sends to, like, to send messages to other pirates and stuff. And so I don't know if Sentomaru has gone up against the other people who might contend for strongest defense in the world. But, like, what does that even mean in One Piece? Because they're not wearing armor. They seem to just be kind of sumo-ish. So is it just like their natural fat and muscle is what protects them?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Based on the information we have right now. I have other ideas, but I don't think they'd be fair to share.
Okay.
Joel, I want to point out, you have been using they-them pronouns for Sentomaru. Would you identify Sentomaru as a non-binary icon? Because I would.
Sentomaru is a guy and uses he/him pronouns. I'm pretty sure of that. But at the same time, something about the haircut or the facial expression or something makes me think girl. And so I use they/them just because, like, that way I don't have to remember that this is a guy.
Sentomaru very much reads, like, simultaneously masc and femme to me. So I'm comfortable being, like, non-binary icon stan. But, you know, it's weird with anime because you can't always tell what gender a person is. And I know that it doesn't matter, but as somebody who likes to be able to put things in boxes, this character was very confusing for me for a long time.
Yes. Now, this is partially informed by future knowledge, but the pieces are there, in fact, in case you're very observant. Notice that when Sentomaru shows up, Sentomaru is able to damage Luffy, and Chopper and Robin specifically make the comment, how is he able to do damage to Luffy? Luffy is a rubber man. And in the very same episode, when that happens, Rayleigh, a normal-ass person, just a grandpa doing his own thing, stops Kizaru's attack.
I object to you calling Rayleigh a normal-ass grandpa. He is a hot-ass grandpa.
He's the world's strongest grandpa, but as far as we know, he does not have a devil fruit power. Maybe he does, but he didn't bust it out if he did. He seemed to be fighting with a regular sword, so if he has an ability, it doesn't seem to be offensive. But there seems to be something going on with some kind of ability to fight devil fruits. And honestly, of course there are. Because, like, the options for Oda as a writer with these crazy devil fruit powers that seem to become more and more common the further and further into the Grand Line that you go. We now have 2 admirals that both have Logia, the strongest type of devil fruit. But either you have the people who are the strongest in the world, the emperors and the admirals and whatever, either they all individually have their own way of assessing the abilities of their opponents and immediately reacting in all situations, or there has to be some other kind of, like, countermeasure that we don't know about. Maybe it has something to do with the sea. Devil fruit users can't swim. Sea salt was the way that you purified the zombies on Thriller Bark, so maybe Rayleigh is just a really salty sailor, and that's allowing him to attack people with devil fruits. I don't know.
Do you think... Nah. I was going to say, do you think Rayleigh has a devil fruit, but nah.
No, I mean, if he does, it's not one that is useful in battle, and most devil fruits have some application in battle.
I was about to ask a really stupid question. I was going to say, do you think devil fruits even existed during the Gold Roger Pirates era? Because, like, as far as we know from what little we've gotten about their crew, they didn't have any devil fruit users on the crew, but Buggy ate his devil fruit.
Yes.
When that was the thing. And that's some more new information that we got, that he and Shanks were pirate apprentices on the Gold Roger crew together.
Yeah, that's kind of the last bit of information I wanted to touch on. Really quick, I do have a quick, favorite scene, favorite quote. I enjoy Luffy not knowing who the hell Kuma is. When Kuma first shows up, everyone's freaking out except for Luffy. And Luffy's like, you know this guy? Luffy, you slept through it. I'm sorry. You missed one of the 7 end bosses of the Grand Line.
Nobody told you because they didn't want to invalidate Zoro's sacrifice.
Which technically only Sanji, Brook, and Robin know about.
No, wait, Nami and Chopper found out too, didn't they?
I don't believe that.
I thought everybody except for Luffy knew about it by the end of Thriller Bark.
No. Sanji was there because he got passed out. Brook was awake, but no one could tell because he's a skeleton. And Robin she made an ear appear when someone was explaining it to someone else. So
going back to the Roger crew.
Yes. Roger tells a story about the disbanding of the Roger
Rayleigh
crew.
tells the story, yeah.
What did I say?
Roger tells it.
Whoops.
He's dead.
Yeah. Or is he? Woo, woo, woo.
No, he is. They cut his head off.
They did. So Rayleigh tells a story, and it turns out, the world was told that the Marines defeated the Roger pirates, and then they executed Roger. But actually, Roger turned himself in to the government, and he disbanded the Roger pirates slowly over time, leading up to him turning himself in. We find out that Roger had an illness, and actually Crocus-san from the lighthouse, he was the ship's doctor for a time, but then after the crew disbanded, he went back to his lighthouse, and he was the guy trying to treat Roger, and even he couldn't figure out the cure. We find out that there's something called Pirates Apprentices, and even if you're all the way caught up on the manga, we still aren't exactly clear on what this is, but it is an officially recognized title among certain crews. But anyways, Shanks and Buggy were young apprentices on the ship, and I don't know if you remember the episode when Buggy and Shanks were arguing about, I think it was about the North Pole versus the South Pole. There was an older member of the crew who told them to, knock it off. That was a young Rayleigh.
Rayleigh!
So good. And I think those are the only confirmed members of the crew. The confirmed lore related to Roger turning himself in, and then the Navy was like, oh yeah, we definitely beat that guy. We're stronger than the King of the Pirates, because they've got to do their propagandizing. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is that Robin asks how he was able to write his note in Sky Island. And she goes, was he able to read the poneglyphs? And Rayleigh knows about the people of O'Hara. He goes, I'm sorry for what happened to the people of O'Hara. And I mean, I think that was a really well-known event, but I don't know, just kind of interesting. And he says, no, Roger could not read the poneglyphs, but he had the power to hear the voice of all things. Okay.
Gonna note that down.
Yeah, the voice of all... What does that mean? Can you talk to plants? Plants are things, the voice of all things.
And this whole conversation led to what I assume you would say is one of the best moments in all of One Piece so far that we've had, where Usopp interrupts Rayleigh to ask, does the One Piece exist? And Luffy just loses it. He jumps up on the table and he yells, if he answers that question, I'm going to stop being a pirate right now. I won't go on boring adventures.
Yes. Yeah, so Usopp was clearly... Because Rayleigh basically said he's willing to answer any and all questions that they have. And Usopp goes, is it really true that on the last island, and then Luffy jumps up, he's like, ah! La 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 la, I'm not listening! What I really like is that Usopp immediately is like, yeah, you're right, I just let it slip. So, like, I think there are certain elements of Usopp that are still cowardly, and I think those will never fully go away. But there's also elements of he recognizes that, like, a true man doesn't look for easy answers. And I wonder if other people who would look for easy answers might be the counterexample to Luffy, and maybe Luffy wanting to go on adventures is why he's the one who will become king of the pirates.
Mm-hmm. And it also has one of my other favorite Luffy quotes, the king of the pirates is the freest man on the seas.
Yes, we mentioned that many times before, back when Curse was still on the podcast, and I'd forgotten that it wasn't until Rayleigh showed up that Luffy says that, and that's incredible. He's not trying to be king of the pirates to rule over anyone. He's not any kind of, like, authoritarian. He's just
not trying to obtain treasure.
Yeah, he just wants to go on an adventure and he wants to be the freest man. Now, this actually makes me wonder, what did Shanks tell Luffy about being a pirate? Like, we now see a direct line, based off of information in these episodes. Roger was the first and only, so far, man to conquer the Grand Line, and he became king of the pirates. And then Shanks was an apprentice on a ship, which, I mean, just look at the word apprentice, probably means that he learned some things. He probably has some pirate philosophy in him. And we know that it's Shanks that got Luffy to become a pirate. So I think there's some secret message, some kind of
sauce.
Like, yeah, there's something that Shanks learned from Roger and Shanks taught to Luffy, and that's why Luffy has such a determination to find the One Piece. So that's all super interesting. The other interesting thing is that Robin asked Rayleigh, gosh, they both have R names. She asked Rayleigh...
Just remember, one is silver and one is gold. Does that mean their third mate was Copper? The Sanji of the crew. Copper kicks.
So in the poneglyph that they found on Sky Island that Robin read, it said something about, like, I will carry these messages to the end of the sea. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but something about that. I will carry this weight on my shoulder. So Robin asks Rayleigh, hey, did you guys figure out what the Void Century was? Did Roger fulfill that promise? And Rayleigh goes, oh yes, we know about the Void Century, which is incredible. Imagine being a scientist trying to prove or a biologist trying to prove whether or not unicorns exist or not. And there's a magical land that the unicorns came from, and you meet another biologist and they're like, oh yeah, we went to the place that unicorns supposedly exist. And the next question is, were the unicorns there? You went to the place. Dude, what did you find out? And Robin asks, like, do you know? And he goes, now I could tell you, but you might arrive at a different answer if I told you now than if you go on the journey yourself. Keep adventuring, find the answer for yourself. And, oh, I get the shivers. The story of One Piece is all about adventures, and you go on these fantastical lands. You have a guy who goes to the moon. You have fish people. You have mermaids. You have zombies. You have giants. You have all of these crazy elements. You have a river that goes upwards. You have a whale the size of an island. You have a doctor who's actually Santa, and you have you have dinosaurs. You have everything. And to hear this, like, there is a history, but it has a correct answer, and you have to find that answer on your own. Your own adventures will impact your understanding of the history of the world. This is why One Piece is my favorite manga. Not this line specifically, but just
this attitude.
Everything about this manga is so good.
Watch One Piece. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast if you don't watch One Piece, but, watch One Piece.
One Piece is excellent.
On that note, do you have any predictions for the next set of episodes, or are you ready to call it our final thought? No thoughts from the crew this week because we were lazy and forgot to tweet.
The only prediction that I can think of is Luffy is going to have to find a temporary crew. He made it very clear when he was talking to Arlong that he can't cook, he can't lie, he can't use a sword, and he can't navigate, I think. He can't navigate a ship. So I think that Luffy has proved time and time again that his strength kind of comes from his friends, and that the reason that he's special is because he has so many talented friends. And so if he has been separated from the rest of the crew, which seems very likely, I think he's going to have to very quickly find people who, they might not have the same abilities as his crewmate. I don't think he'll find a navigator, a swordsman, a sharpshooter, but I think he's going to make friends with someone, and I think that he is going to hang on their every word until he figures out how to get back to Sabaody. And I think that's been your
Doot. Final thought. Outro goes here.
Thanks for listening, everyone. As soon as I get my sheet open.
Always, every time.
Next
episode
we will cover episodes 408 through 414. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon.
Mwah. I'm excited for this one.
Did you put this one here?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
In the next episode, Yusa's kid poops his pants. Oh, I poop in my pants.
Law, come here. I need to spank your bottom.
No!
I poop in my pants again.
Ha-ha! What a great episode of King of the What Now, your One Piece podcast that started from the very beginning and stars these two doofuses. If you want to follow us on social media, Twitter's the best place to do that. I am at KOTWN_pod.
And I am at Pirate Ghost Host.
Absolutely, yes. We share all sorts of thoughts on there, some related to the podcast, some related to other things. But you can also reach us through email at kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com, or you can also find us on Patreon. We would love some subscribers or supporters, whatever the technical term is. Patrons. So fancy and grown up. And you can find that at patreon.com/kingofthewhatpod. You can find all sorts of things like bonus episodes, and you get to see the full cold open candidates, not just the ones that make it into the episode. Maybe someday if I learn to draw, I'll put stuff up there. We're always looking for suggestions and feedback. And speaking of which,
please take a moment to rate and review our podcast wherever you get us from. So iTunes, Spotify, Scrivener, that's for writing. But wherever you listen to our podcast, take a moment to leave a review. It helps other people find us. We are so grateful to all of our listeners, and we couldn't do this without you.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is super powerful, so if you have a friend who likes One Piece and they haven't heard of us, just direct them to the latest episode. And if they hate us, they can tell us why. And if there's an actionable item, we'll try to please you. That's how this works. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.